Hi, I'm going to talk about priorities, not a new subject to you, but how it relates to you being a college student right now. Have you ever considered what each individual has in common, no matter who they are, what ethnicity they are, how much money they have, how much education they have, or what experiences they've had? The answer is time. What separates individuals is what each person does with it. Charles Swindoll said that time is significant because it is so rare. It's completely irretrievable. You can never repeat it or relive it. There's no instant replay with time. That appears only on film. It travels alongside us each day, yet it has eternity wrapped up in it. Because you've now added college student to your to-do list, time management is even more critical for you to be successful. So, where does your time go? There's a few things, 5 principles I'd like you to think about. Think about and reflect on these and how they relate to you personally. The first one is put first things first. Second, know your mission. Third, know your limits. Fourth, simplify or aim for balance in your life. And 5, reflect on people who seem to have enough time. So, what is the point of all this? Well, making room for priorities must be a consideration now that you're going back to school. There's always room for more if you can learn how to manage your time better. Organizing your priorities will allow you to accomplish what you need to do as well as what you want to do. Stephen Covey used a very effective illustration to make this point. Let me read you a story. He was standing in front of a group of business students, very high-powered overachievers. And he pulled out a 1-gallon wide-mouth mason jar and set it on a table in front of him. He then produced about a dozen fist-sized rocks. He carefully placed each one of them inside the jar. When the jar was filled to the top and no more rocks would fit inside, he asked the group, "Is the jar full?" They responded, "Yeah, it is." Then he said, "Really?" And he reached out under the table, pulled out a bucket of gravel. He then dumped some gravel in, shook the jar, causing the gravel to fall down and work itself in between the big rocks. He then asked the group once more, "Is the jar full now?" They said, "Well, probably not." He said, "Good point." He then reached under the table and pulled out a bucket of sand. He started dumping the sand in the jar. It went into all the spaces left between the rocks that the gravel hadn't filled in. He once more said, "Is the jar full?" Well, by this time, they knew better than to say yes, and they said no. He then grabbed a pitcher of water and began to pour it in until the jar was filled to the brim. He looked at the class and said, "What is the point of this illustration?" One student said, "Well, the point is no matter how full your schedule is, you can always fit more into it." Well, that wasn't really the truth of the illustration. The truth is, if you don't put the big rocks in first, you'll never get them in at all. So what are the big rocks in your life? Might be your children, your spouse, your education, accomplishing your dreams, mentoring, doing things you love, or things for yourself. So remember to put those big rocks in first, or you'll never get them in at all. If you sweat the little stuff, like the gravel and sand, then you'll fill your things with the little things that cause you to worry about what really doesn't matter, and you won't have quality time to spend on the big things. The second aspect of establishing priorities has to do with your mission. Okay, what I'd like you to do is to envision yourself as part of a group of people gathered in a room. You have been asked to accomplish the following mission. Write the directions to the local mall. Nothing else was offered to you. You can't answer any questions. But if you could ask them, what would you ask? For example, well, what kind of transportation should I use? What's the easiest way to get there? What's the fastest way? Which mall would I even choose to give directions to? Well, all these questions involve your values and your priorities, or how you make a decision. And this is one of the reasons you want to consider a mission statement for your life. It was reported during World War I that a soldier who could not give his mission on the spot would be shot. A mission is a task, duty, or calling. Not knowing this is like walking through life with your camera lens always out of focus, where you're able to detect only the blurred images. So you're missing great details that would make the picture more meaningful to yourself or to others. When you come to the end of your journey, what will your mission look like to other people, to your children? Will they learn to live their mission by seeing how you lived yours? It was reported during World War I, a soldier who could not give his mission on the spot would be shot. A mission is a task, duty, or calling. Not knowing this is like walking through life with your camera lens always out of focus, where you can only detect blurred images, thus missing the great details which make a picture more meaningful to yourself and others. Will you come to the end of your journey with your mission unlived? What about your children? How will they learn to live their mission without seeing you live yours? Former British Prime Minister James Callaghan, when considering a mission, said, "In my judgment, a leader should have some core philosophy and belief against which he can judge the important issues that arise. Unless he has that bedrock to fall back on, the unexpected storms that blow up will toss him about like a cork. Without such a foundation, a leader may be able to survive, but he won't be a leader in the sense that I use the term." So mission statements should answer the following questions. What is my life about? What do I value? What are my talents? What matters in my life? Ultimately, a mission statement will provide direction for your life. Where do you want to get? And depending on who you study, there's several approaches to writing a mission statement. One individual that we always refer to, who's on the internet, is Lori Beth Jones. She gives 4 principles that make the process pretty easy to put together, and that's something you could reference on your own. So, in conclusion, while you're in school and you're finishing your degree, remember that when things get really complicated or confusing and maybe you've lost hope, go to Philippians 1:3-6 and consider that God is the one who began this in you. Where Paul said, "I thank my God every time I remember you. In all my prayers for all of you, I always pray with joy because of your partnership in the gospel from the first day until now, being confident of this, that he who began a good work in you will carry it on to completion until the day of Christ Jesus."